but maybe Nico, before we get to some of this stuff, I think it would actually be nice to rather unpack how you decided to actually go into this. And I don't know if you've ever, you probably have a lot of investments, but then you decided to actually go into township property, and out of interest, what started it? What made you want to do it? What was your thinking around it?
Yeah. So basically, initially when I had a look at, obviously property has been the thing that everyone talks about, right? Like when you start working, you should get a property and all of that. I actually have a post on Facebook where I say why people should not own property but rather rent, right? There's that, train of thought.
Rent
Right?
versus buy.
I really believed in that kind of model, because obviously owning a property is so expensive and there's cost involved and things like that. And then eventually, I think during early lockdown, I started looking at what I can do, and this came from the concerns that people had, property owners had with receiving rent, right? So I was like, I told you guys this was gonna happen. This is happening, and all of that.
Welcome to another episode of the Business Agenda Podcast, episode 12 to be specific. As always, this podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts. If you prefer the visual side of things, this podcast is available on YouTube. As always, like, subscribe, share, comment, click the bell notification icon so that every time we upload a video, you will get a notification. My name is Cash, also known as Uncle Cash. I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Itumeleng, also known as Miser, and Tabo, my good friend, also known as Vinyl_T, always stress the underscore. And we were joined by a special guest, more than a guest, also a personal friend, someone who some of you might have seen on the sports finance episode. He wasn't wearing a suit, he wore a tracksuit, but he had very invaluable insights.
Everybody wore suits.
He had very valuable insights regarding the topic and golfing specifically. So as always, gentlemen, how are you doing?
It's crazy that you actually love golf and you didn't wear a golf tee.
I can't try that out.
But I think it doesn't get more golf than a tailor-made golf cap. If you wear tailor-made, tailor-made, exactly. Saving grace, forget the jeans and the forced ones, but he's got a golf cap. But as always, I always like to go around the room and just see how gentlemen are doing in light of the times, economics, personal lives. How you guys doing? You good? Mental health, well-being, family, and everything. How are your finances?
Yeah, bruh. So for me, October is a bit of a tricky one. There's a lot happening. I think it's my wife's birthday is coming up.
Yeah.
Tsepo's birthday is coming up.
Yeah.
Nico's birthday is coming up.
Wow. If you thought marking Miser's birthday and the 4-week celebration was going to be bad, wait till you start all of these. And
another long month. And we've been complaining and saying we want to take a break.
And you just had your anniversary.
Yeah, but I was in September.
Yeah.
But you kicked off August in a good way.
Yeah, 5 years. 5 years in, James.
Yeah, congrats, bro. Hey, the numbers are not looking good for that particular endeavor. So if you make it 5 years, you have to acknowledge and celebrate. Yeah, but the good thing, I think, with October over, I think there's a lot of things happening in terms of festivals, entertainment, and also just from the performance side of things. This is the proverbial last quarter, if you call it, for whatever endeavors you have as a business, as a person, any personal targets. Because I've always kind of written off December. I used to write it off from the second week. But if you look at our performance, annual shutdowns, December, for the most part, people are really, really starting to shut down as early as first week. Yeah. So not much happens in that way. Even like the decision makers, things that then roll on to, we'll see it first quarter.
As late as November, actually.
True, like
mid-November, that's when people start, I think, conditionally, trying to condition themselves mentally to say, you know what, I'm ready for the festive.
It's quite tough to reach any target in December. Do any meaningful work or whatever.
True.
Except for retail.
Retail events, travel and tourism.
In my space, so property is quite interesting because in construction side they're closed, so suppliers are gone. You gotta put your last orders probably like in October to get deliveries in November. So construction starts shutting down. But then your other clients on the flip side, retail starts saying we need more facilities, more stock, more, temporary stuff.
Replenishments, exactly.
You know, checkers, they always have like 10 tills, but 3 only working.
Yep.
When it's December, chief, like
all the tills are filled up, exactly.
It's quite interesting, yeah.
So even on the employment side, I don't know. I've always wondered how they measure that, because a lot of the retail, they have like specifically up their recruitment on a temp level for just for like the festive period, because it does get busy. And one thing I've been noticing, I think for me with Joburg, I always use traffic as a barometer of how people's pockets are for that festive season, because back when I first came to Joburg once upon a time, you could see a noticeable difference of some entertainment places even closed because there is no business, like the nightlife places. And then as you trickle towards festive first weeks of January, because for the most part people aren't originally from Gauteng, and so it gets empty. But one thing you do see is over the past couple of years, obviously with the performance of the economy, traveling is not the standard traveling way. Forget holiday, just going home to wherever you're from. It's not a given like it used to be, because obviously people are working with more limited finances, belt tightening, the proverbial belt tightening like we always talk about. I think what's going to be interesting to see this coming year, probably second year officially in after pre-COVID, what's the festive going to be like? Events starting to open up. Are people going to be as keen to travel?
There's no flights.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
The ones that you find are really expensive.
They are expensive.
The number of airlines have like reduced dramatically. Especially
that's
the
point.
traditional 31st in Cape Town thing. Yeah. People will probably start thinking twice about going to Cape Town.
Correct, yeah.
But I just wonder what that will mean to the Airbnbs in Cape Town, for example, if not as many people will be coming to Cape Town, and driving is also kind of not an option because fuel is so expensive at the moment. Like,
but if you can't find flights, you're gonna have to drive. It's not other way around.
The funny
Don't
thing
say
is
that, bro. I've got a wedding in Cape Town in November.
the funny thing is that
I'm actually planning now.
we try to book. Nico has like H1s and stuff, those type of vehicles.
Yes.
Oh yeah, by the way, there's Avunica rentals on all social media platforms. Please check it out.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
All of that. Thank you. Continue.
So anyway, we tried to because we were planning like our getaway at work, the garden route, whatever, and then Tsitsikamma, and then we tried to book like an H1 type of car, like H1s or whatever. All of them are all booked out.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of them, literally.
That's hectic.
I'm ready, and I'm already seeing even with like right saying I've started checking accommodation, like because the wedding I'm attending is like wine trail and all. My guy,
do it now, bro.
It's already, I can already see the numbers, and it's the wedding's on like a 24th, which is like a Thursday. So I have to take time. Long story in short of what he's saying, the dates are already getting grayed out each day because I've been monitoring.
And I've got clients that that own some of the prestigious properties in Cape Town, like Kemps Bay, Molly Point, and some of those areas.
Nice, man, those kind of places.
Yeah, and some can even cross like $1 million a month of Airbnb just because of like it's really peak time, and also like there's wealthy people in this country, and it doesn't matter what the price is, they will just pay.
I recently had the pleasure of having to facilitate people who came from outside the country. They said just find us a penthouse, France Hook. Just get it. What we want is just this many rooms. It can accommodate that many people. And they did, bro. Like, I'm going to say as a consultant.
The thing about Cape Town is a lot of international guests.
Yes, it was exactly that.
But even locally, if you think about execs, the CEOs of listed companies and their full management team, and then include their kids, families, wives, like you have, it might not look like a lot, but there's a lot of, like if you trickle down that one person, the CEO of, I don't know, Discovery, and you trickle down his family line and just follow that wealth and you multiply it by all the companies we have that are really big, you will see how many people that is.
Exactly. And I think with these getaways, exactly like you're saying, it's also that CEO and then people like being clustered in community. So if we're going to Zimbabwe, we want houses within the same vicinity. We want the entire house because it's going to be me, my family, relatives. We're going to bring our helper for the young kids, and we want this. And you want the same standards. Are there golf carts there? Like some of the peripheral things you might not even consider. I've got a boat in that area, or so-and-so's got a house, whatever, and then that's why it is peak time. So even if the flights being booked kind of makes sense.
And doesn't this just highlight the importance of the tourism sector in the South African economy, right? Because what we've just discussed in the past 2 minutes basically sort of like emphasizes why we should really be paying special attention to the tourism sector in South Africa. If you're talking a client grossing R1 million a month, there's a helper there at the Airbnb daily, if not every few days, whatever. There's a gardener.
There's a cook there.
Yeah, there's a cook and all of those things, right? So security. So and the people won't be cooking in the house every day, right? They'll be going out to the restaurants. There's waiters and things like that.
Entertainment.
Yeah. So I think then that highlights the importance that needs to be placed on the tourism sector in South Africa, and the amount of people that actually are employed in that sector. If you look at obviously the obvious examples like Cape Town and Mpumalanga in South Africa, but it really shows that it's quite important that we don't overlook tourism in SA.
Especially post-COVID.
South Africa, bro. South Africa is also a wild one because it feels like probably for the first time we probably might have a load shedding December. Usually December there isn't much load shedding, you know.
It's mostly once winter's done, you know, for the most part you're done with load shedding.
Yeah. And with like, is it true? Like, stage 4 is going to be a bit permanent, or was like one of those
hyperbole headlines.
Tagline, because I didn't even read that article. I was like, I don't want to find out, but this doesn't sound right.
I thought funny. The article I saw was Pravin Gordhan. I think it's the same headline. I thought 2 or 3 times, do I really want to click this article and get this bad news? And they said load shedding here to stay for 9, and then you had to open the article like 9 what? Because I'm like 9 years, not a chance. I opened like no, we could have load shedding for the next 9 to 12 months, like back to back to back. So that's why I even like you, I thought twice, do I really want to open this article and hear the bad news? But when I saw the 9, that's clickbait. I fell for it, but it's exactly that. It'll be rolling between stage 3 and 4. And I think a festive with if it will be a first for me,
it's gonna be a weird one.
It's gonna be a weird one because also I think the oddity with load shedding is the fact that the grid is normally strained during winter. It makes sense that during winter the uptake, usage, heating, and all those kind of things. Because if you think of our power issues, unlike Europe or other places, we don't even have central heating because we've got warm weather. It's Africa, so usage only goes up in winter. So, but I think it's the chickens are kind of coming home to roost in terms of the infrastructure has been for the longest time. It's been like they've been trying to catch up with population growth, the needs of the economy. Because sometimes with load shedding, we only think as individuals of residential use. But with each year, more people come to Gauteng, there's more industries, more factories open up. So that also strains the grid big time. Then there's the issues of coal, they're trying to go green. So it's going to be an interesting one. I'm just hoping that because maybe there's less people in the province, if people do travel, tourism, there might be less load shedding, because if you're not going to travel, that's the last thing you want.
You're going to be here.
Yeah, I'll be here. Like it's outside of November, come back. I did it 1 year by chance, stayed in the Joburg in December, and I realized it's the most relaxing thing ever.
Yeah, because it's so quiet, right?
It's like a totally different place. So I think what I've started doing past 6 years, if I go home, if I travel, November or first or second week of December cutoff, come back. You know, then it's just a standard thing of Christmas with friends, go to church and the whole 9, because it's, you know, I think I've never been a fan. It's great, but the whole thing of traveling throughout, it's good for the economy, but sometimes it's also tedious to be on the roads, accidents, everything's fully booked, it's expensive, you know, so word.
Peak rates is like one of the scams in this country.
What's this?
Like peak rates, you know, like
big time.
in the same place for different prices just because it's December. Like,
but I do understand.
It's demand and supply.
It's demand, but I also understand for the service provider, if you really think of it, like if you ever try to book a place, like they will knock down during winter because they know people aren't traveling at that time. So it's almost with buses, accommodation, travel, hotels. This for them, they have to capitalize to make for those low-end earning quarters. So I get it, but for us, it's like it's the same place, you know. But I do get it.
I wanted us to digress a bit on the load shedding bit and just to incorporate the economy at large. What's happening? I mean, we I think if I didn't want to read that article as well because immediately I got stressed because imagine what load shedding is doing to small, medium enterprises, and who's getting punished at the end of the day? The consumer. I mean, like, we are getting punished left and right? I mean, like, we saw recently interest rates going up. Obviously, our they wouldn't want to admit it, but like our central bank is up front loading rates, and
it doesn't look like it's actually protecting the currency.
That's the other thing.
It's supposed to, but it's not, because I was talking with one of the brokers. Like, he's like, you know what? If this guy does another 75 in November, I'm inclined to agree. I think for the first time, we might get quantitative easing in this country. They'll have to cut rates as fast as possible,
But
as well.
But Maza, don't you think that obviously with the increase in rates by the Fed and the ECB as well, that obviously had a negative impact on the rand specifically, because normally what would happen is that because rates are so low internationally, the rand would be it would be appealing for you to have the rand because of what you ZAR bonds, because of what you earn on them, right? But now we're in a situation where US is increasing rates, ECB is increasing rates, so
UK,
the competition is quite tight. That's why there's such a huge sell off of the rand, because you'd rather have the safer currency, the less volatile currency, and all of that.
So
right?
the sell-off was there, but you're actually quite right. What is the mandate? Price stability, right?
Yeah.
What are they trying to stabilize now? Because the reason why bonds and the rand is selling off is that we are convinced that central banks won't be able to contain inflation right now. The struggle.
I mean, they wanted to do 1%.
They wanted to do 1%.
From what you're saying, sounds like it would have been the right decision.
No, it will burn the economy.
so obviously in the MPC you had 3 Mazas and 2 me. Right? Because I think
I'm not a hog.
You're definitely not a hog. But I still think that we in terms of obviously inflation targeting and all of that, the tools we are currently using inflation targeting, it's probably the best tool to try and increase rates to get them between the 3 to 6% target band.
Exactly.
Right? But
what's the point of getting it there at the cost of housing market also collapsing as well?
Well, there's that
unemployment. US, their mandate is what the Fed needs to act in such a way that they accommodate employment numbers and growth. In South Africa, our mandate is what? To price stability. In the UK, we use the similar as BOE, price stability. But the UK, they're gonna have recession now because of Russia now cutting those gas prices. US, if you look at the US 10-year now, I'm just trying to talk a bit of technicalities before I get to my point. It's gonna head into recession. South Africa, we've been hiking, like you said, to make the rand more appealing, but the rand is selling off because why? These guys are hiking as if we are in an overheating stage, whereas we're still in stagflation. You can't hike rates.
So we've already used our tools, basically.
We already used our tools because, like, for me, like now already people are selling. They're distressed investors. Just to digress and put it back into the property perspective. Like now there's already distressed investors. You must remember that rates were cut over 350 basis points, over 3.5%. And we saw the housing market getting flooded with a lot of investors. Now those guys can't afford those things. So what we are seeing now, we're seeing a distressed property market. So the rand will eventually sell off because you're hiking rates as if we're in an overheating. Overheating, I'm saying, is that we have high growth, high inflation. Ideally, that's when you want to hike rates.
What's bad or what's difficult for me? That's why sometimes I'm just glad it's not my job. Because you would still have the second effects of inflation by, even if you're to prioritize this country by not hiking rates, considering the consumers, etc. They would actually still have high inflation if the dollar is high and we import a lot. So now we're probably going to be sitting at, say, 22 rands a dollar. The same way that petrol is, the same way the dollar is going up, but the price of petrol is actually going down globally. But our currency is not strong enough to absorb it. So I think even if they're prioritized locally, you'd still struggle. So they have to find a balance, but it's always difficult to tell if this is balanced because some people say it should have been 20 rands by now. And at 18, they're saying it's holding.
18, 19 is
They're
holding.
saying it's holding strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's scary. That's very
Which is correct, and that's why I think that they do have a difficult job. But I also think, just from a mindset perspective, I think it's also time, I suppose, as consumers also reposition. You know, to we used to do scenario analysis, stress testing.
Yeah.
It becomes way of life with anything.
I mean, if Lysicha sees this, hey man, why are you punishing us, dog? I mean, like, come on. Like, there's some things the central bank doesn't have control over.
Yes.
Like now, the government, the reason why the core reason why the rand is selling off is the confidence that the market has, the level of confidence that the market has in the government. The ANC election conference is coming in December. I mean, like, will we have
Mpo is gone from Joburg.
Hey, man.
the mayor is just go. So punishing retailers want to make profits. With the recent inflation numbers that came out, petrol prices, like Jesus said, went down globally. But the reason why inflation didn't go down as much as possible is food prices. You know.
Yeah, the for me like what Tiza is saying, it's a rock and a hard place in terms of the instruments that they have and getting the balance right. Because like you're saying, MPC, the central bank has mandate, but there's external things. That's always the challenge with an economy. Like one thing that always kind of perturbs me is whether you like it or not, in most countries, if there's an elective conference, elections coming up, things almost grind to a halt because investors, everyone's will say, let's hold and see how this pans out, who's coming in, what are the decisions. That's on that side. And then you've got also issues within municipalities. Those things, whether you like it or not, the investors and people who are involved in the economy, you have to pay attention to those things. It can't be purely investment, or it can't be schemes or stress tests determined. You have to, those things are going to factor into, and all while the circle's going, obviously you have to look at the consumer on the bottom end. So like with fuel, the inability of the rand, anytime it doesn't perform, there's no knock-on effect to the end, to the general members of the public. That's the other thing. So look, I always like, I think my conclusion was like, I'm glad it's not my job. Because like for all the textbooks and the committees and the instruments you use, comparison, and you try to factor all that stuff in, there's, like Maza rightfully said, there's always a span in the works. You might think you're going to get a benefit from the global oil barrel price coming down, and then in the midst of that, locally there's local government things, political things happening, and that completely wipes away any gains that you might have gotten, and it's all timing, and that's beyond your control. But the bottom line, people will look at performance in your tenure.
Like Nico said, bro, the rand being strong or weak, there's a pass-through effect eventually with that thing. So for me, like, my whole rant now is to like bring it back home. Why we invited Nico as well? Do we see more people jumping into that market, into the property market, or not? Do we see more people getting out of a property market? Because for me, the housing and vehicle sales are leading indicators, right? So, and I think the housing market is quite distressed with a number of hikes that are happening now. So, Tiza, what are they doing? Are they, if we're going to define price stability, are they protecting the rand or are they fighting inflation? Because at the end of the day, the consumers
you're gonna see, and I must say, maybe before property, I think we must just, from asset classes as a whole. I mean, I was telling you, I hold equities. My equity portfolio is down. You know, pension is down. So I think it feels like there's a market repricing that's happening all around all assets. Even at this point, even if you're holding on to money, it's still not even better. I've seen some people even rather buy cars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're like, maybe a car will actually hold value.
Yeah.
You know, they buy these high-end cars because, like, any asset class that you have is currently not performing. So there's a repricing that's happening, and I think maybe if we all kind of understand, like, because you know the one thing about investment is a lot of people always look at it indefinitely, but sometimes you must actually rather put a term to it. If you have a 10-year horizon, if you're holding on to equities on a 10-year term, you probably still are up. You know what I mean? But if you got in the last 5 years, you need to probably hold for a further 5 years to judge on a 10-year basis. You know what I mean? So there's that thing that makes it very difficult to even understand. But I think on the property side, we're gonna see it over the next couple of months, I'll say. I mean, rates are up. They're anticipating another 125 by next year before they stabilize. So definitely going to see more properties on the market. You're going to see a lot more arrears. You're going to see more vacancies. And I think, you know, for Nico specifically, you know, as an investor in property, we're also going to see tenants struggling. You know, he was just explaining how he's getting calls, you know, to say, look, I might be a day or two late, because this is the knock-on effects of some of these things, and this is not going to get better. So you're going to have to, you know, reduce price to keep tenants. You're going to have to. I remember, and specifically because we actually want to discuss Township property investment. You know, I had actually asked some of the guys for me, you can pay the deposit over 2 months. Just because someone paying deposit and rent first month, it's just already a lot.
It's a lot. Even if even where the landlord thinks I've reduced. And I think another thing we'll probably see with property owners is if the property is on a bond, you might have to fork out more from your own pocket to make the running expenses of that property. Like if a tenant negotiates and you say to yourself, rather have a tenant than a vacant property, then the rates go up. Then now it's more coming out of my personal pocket to make the difference between the running expenses, levies, cost rates, the interest on the bond, because obviously you don't want to default, and that money has to come from somewhere. And it's going to come from you, the owner. So that's the trickle down, like Michael also mentions, of some of these things and how it affects. And different sectors of the property space, you do get like tenant mobility, where never underestimate how, if someone's renting a room, CBD or Township, if you increase the rental a couple of $100, they will move out. Because it's purely
that sensitive.
It's that sensitive. It's pure price affordability. So you then have to gauge, and maybe Nick can give us more insights on this.
And I think that's really the reality of South Africa, and specifically the Township, or the lower end of the rental market, right? Where 100 Rand makes a huge difference in your decision, right? And that's the point I wanted to make on the increase in rates, etc., is what it really means to someone staying in Soweto, right? Where when you say that the rates went up by 75 basis points or something like that, right? And then you start seeing this because a lot of the guys obviously have something like a clothing account or whatever that's linked, right? Instead of paying 600 Rand a month, this has gone out to 670. There's petrol prices, they use taxis. Someone was complaining about the taxi fare increasing from Soweto to Joburg, right? And then they've actually moved from using taxis to using buses, but the buses are so unreliable, and they arrive late. Therefore, you need to wake up an hour earlier. There's like the knock-on effect is so huge. Just before we even get to the property part, but just on a lifestyle thing, right?
Adjustment,
You used to wake up at 5:30. Now you need to be up at 5 or 4:30 or something to make it to work in time. So there's when the governor announces the rates, obviously the knock-on effect on the man on the street is much more severe than when we speak about our investments or securities and things like that. So there's also that element, and I think that has a much bigger impact on in terms of numbers. Obviously, not quantifying the amount, but in terms of number of people than our investments. Like it's
correct. And the other thing is actually a lot of those lower end people is a lot of them also don't have credit facilities. So sometimes interest increase doesn't affect them like this.
Directly.
You know what I mean? But it affects them through the other things, like you said,
like food and transport,
affordability.
It's quite interesting. And I think but maybe Nico, before we get to some of this stuff, I think it would actually be nice to rather unpack how you decided to actually go into this. And I don't know if you've ever, you probably have a lot of investments. But then you decided to actually go into Township property, and out of interest, what started it? What made you want to do it? What was your thinking around it?
So basically, initially when I had a look at, obviously property has been the thing that everyone talks about, right? Like when you start working, you should get a property and all of that. I actually have a post on Facebook where I say why people should not own property but rather rent, right? There's that, train of thought.
Rent versus buy.
I really, really, really believed in that kind of model, because obviously owning a property is so expensive and there's cost involved and things like that. And then eventually, I think during early lockdown, I started looking at what I can do, and this came from the concerns that people had, property owners had with receiving rent, right? So I was like, yo, I told you guys this was gonna happen, this is happening, and all of that, right? And then this one guy who's a property investor in Townships with Sunny, he used to be my mentor when I was still studying. So, and then I had a chat with him. He had just started like going full blown into property investments in the townships, right? And then after chatting to him, I actually realized that when we look at the growth in the property values in townships versus in urban areas, you actually see that properties have actually been doing quite well in the townships compared to, if you compare them to the urban areas, right? And the fact that it's slightly cheaper to get a property in the township compared to the type of property, obviously, in the township versus in the urban area. Yeah, then I started really paying attention to this thing, because when I looked at potential return on investments and things like that, I thought, okay, no, this deserves my attention. Then I, obviously, having someone who was actively in the market
space,
at the
showing
doing that
cash flows,
it changed a lot. It was actually the game changer for me. And then obviously, being a very, very risk averse person, I thought, let me go for student accommodation. And then I looked at the VAL in the height of students being at home. And then I remember I would spend a full day in Vanderbilt Park, close to VUT. Going
Shout out to Val, man.
Oh yeah, Italy. So I spent a full day there, chatting to people, because there were quite a few properties that I called the owners or the agents that I wanted to view. In between me viewing the properties, I met a lady who's a property manager of a few. Then she of a few residences. Then she offered to take me through a few properties and stuff like that. And the more I started chatting to this lady, like practically talking to someone who's in the property business, like I actually thought, you know what, this is within my appetite range. You know, I definitely want to get involved in this. And then obviously, with students being at home and stuff like that, I was a bit deterred, and I thought, let me wait and see if students will come back, because students were studying online at the time. And then that mixed with knowing a person who's doing township properties, I then started actively looking for a property, either student or normal res. Between that and township. And then eventually I decided on township, looking at the returns and the impact that I was going to make in the township more than anything, because we know that people, when someone talks about a room in a township, it's like a square and a door and a window. That's it, right? So I wanted to bring something like the mid-range feel to a township and see if it can be done. And also have that kind of impact. And then obviously started looking around, and it took me more than a year to find the ideal place and the ideal house to buy, even though I knew the place where I wanted to buy the house. Yeah.
Yes, that's tricky.
It took me a year, because I actually...
Makes sense, though.
I actually found a place because I wanted to buy a house and then convert the house into residential property, build like flats around the house and stuff like that, right? So it's quite tough to find a house that's built in a position
like in the middle.
Yeah, most houses are built either two left, two right,
off center.
2 4. Then you can't build in front, you can't build at the back.
You have to demolish.
You have to demolish, and I wanted to save money by not demolishing the existing house, right? So there's my the scope that I was working on was quite limited. And then I found an ideal house, a corner house in Proteat Lane, right? And then the moment I saw the house, I heard what they were offering, what they were selling for, and then I went. It was a Saturday, and then I went home, calculated, did my numbers, and saw how many rooms I could build, and it was gonna work out perfectly. Monday morning, I put in an offer to the house, right, the first house, and then I had the offer was accepted later on during the week. Obviously, everything was looking up, And then I heard that there was a family conflict.
Dispute, yeah.
Yeah. In terms, the owner had passed away and left the wife with the sister. The sister was taking care of the house over the last few years and stuff like.
So the wife wanted the.
Yeah. So then I think I got a few warnings that, look, this might take a turn for the worst and all of that. You might wait longer than what you're willing to wait, etc. Then obviously I had stipulated in my offer to purchase that this is valid for 7 days for you to accept or not accept and all of. Then they had actually accepted at the time, so I had to have the conversation with them and tell them, like, look, I know you accepted, but this looks like it'll take longer than.
Yeah, especially if there's an estate involved.
Yeah. So then they were willing to obviously cancel the offer to purchase and stuff like that. So then have to restart the process, and this is me driving to Proteas land quite frequently to go view houses, come back disappointed, go again, come back disappointed.
So it's a long process.
Yeah, stop for a few weeks and go back, and eventually I was getting to a point last year around this time, actually. Saw the house and was deliberating on whether I should make the offer or not. And I remember a few days before my birthday, I put in the final offer as a birthday gift to myself. So it was in October last year. That's when I actually put in the offer for the property. So obviously, after going through the same process, saw the property, put in, and then the house was actually in an ideal position. The existing house that I was buying was in an ideal position. I remember, so we saw the house during the week. We went back on Saturday with measuring tapes and things like, because I always had a plan of what exactly I want in my head, right? I went with measuring tapes, measured. I wanted to squeeze in more rooms than what I ended up with, to be honest. Looking at my returns, obviously, but then you always have to find a balance between making profits and giving people quality. And you know, if you live in a place, you want to enjoy your place. You don't want to have too many people in a small cramped
place.
up, right? So that's how. So I think that's plus minus me starting to look for a place, get into, okay, cool, I like this place. So that was basically it, and obviously looking at the area.
And then once you had made the decision, once you've put the offer, it's accepted, financed. What was your how did you find the process of dealing with professionals? Now you gotta find architect, a builder. And again, this is your first one, so I'm assuming also you have to shop around here.
So
and maybe in that process, how do you justify the costs? The petrol that you are using to drive up and down, do you also put it there, or you just write it off to say?
So to be honest, I wrote off all the stuff until day one when we broke ground. Everything that I had spent then, I just wrote off because I couldn't really quantify it properly, because obviously with fuel and time, because I sacrificed quite a lot of time, because I couldn't quantify it, I just decided I won't be costing that, right? But in terms of finding the professionals, after putting in the offer to purchase, I realized that actually I'm in this thing, right? And
There's
obviously
no going
this is a lesson to learn also, right? I moved from, hey, you need to find a place in a good location, this to I've been looking for a year, I need to find a place soon. The year is almost ending. I mean, I'm talking about October 2021, right? So I had set myself a target to find a place and build by the end of the year. So there's a lot of that ideally I shouldn't have had at the back of my mind.
But under pressure.
Yeah, I put myself under the pressure to finish off the year with a place and all of that, right? So, and then once I had this, I started thinking about who am I going to call to get my vision so that we can actually see it visually, so I can get a builder who's going to build this thing, right? Then we met an architect initially who designed, not the actual place, but I wanted to see the place visually, right? And then the guy started helping us in terms of the visuals and stuff like that, of what it's going to look like with the 4 rooms. Then it was initially 4 rooms. Then I wanted a builder. Then I had a friend of mine in Soweto we were driving around Soweto looking at houses and Proteas land, knocking on doors, asking, "Hey, who built your house?" That's the level I was on. Right? Like, "Hi, who built your
You're
house?"
hitting
I like
the
this
ground,
house.
yeah.
Meet the
Count
people.
forces.
And I'm like, no, this does not. My brief to myself and to the builder was going to be, I want a place that's going to represent me.
Aesthetically, the visual, yes.
Yeah. And then I see the house and I'm like, no, you're not a bad builder, but
This is not it.
This is not
I don't know
me.
how to explain it, but it's not it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we move on. So I have a friend who stays in Soweto, and I was so frustrated because I was like, nah, dog.
This is not the one.
This is not the one. Man. I want a certain touch and feel of a place. And then eventually we're driving around and we saw this place. It's a residential flat in Soweto in Deep Kloof, but it looks like a house. It looks like a mansion. I was like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
Okay, now
So you wanted to provide a bit of some sort of like to make people feel at home.
Yeah.
Well,
I want
yeah.
it- like you must.
He also didn't want it to look like. You do want it to look like flats outside.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
must
because-
look like a home, but
Yeah.
inside it's actually.
Yeah.
So basically, which is admirable, you wanted to bring the class and a bit of quality of. It mustn't just look like a boring block of flats. It has to look homely and class and standardized, and also showing that this model can work in the township. Which is probably why you went much longer in how it looks, and you're quite stuck on that. I don't want someone to live in. It just looks like a block of flats because that tends to be dreary. Let it be a home, but actually flats that are customized.
Yeah, 100%. And
Because as people, we like nice things.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the thing.
And so that thing, the place needs to market itself as well.
And
Yeah.
I've never
I always
understood
said,
that, yeah.
I always said, would I live in this place? Every time they were building, every time I was like, should we take the shortcut? I was like, no.
If I lived here.
If I lived here, I wouldn't want you to take the shortcut.
You wanna do it
we're not-
proper,
We're doing things properly, right? So that was it. And then anyway, we go to the house. We knock, no one there. Ask the neighbor. The neighbor tells us who the owner is. Like, oh, this guy actually owns a bottle store on the main road as you enter Deep Kloof. And then I go there on a Saturday afternoon. I remember people are drinking and stuff. I'm like, hey, I'm in business mode, man.
When are you headhunting? Yeah.
I'm headhunting. I'm like, everyone is staring at me as I enter the place. I'm like, go to the
They can see this one is not from here.
yeah,
This one.
I go to the teller. I'm like, hey, can I please get 4 castle lights? I don't even want
Just
it.
to like this.
And like, oh, by the way, who owns this place? You know, I was like, oh, the owner. You pass the owner by the gate. The guy sitting at the gate looking at everyone is the owner. And at that time, I just paid for my drinks. I'm like, I was like, I should have maybe asked directly. Anyway, the guy was quite nice. Gave me the numbers, called those guys, told them I'm going to be calling them, the builders, that is. And I went to meet the builders. Only to find out the builders are from they're from Lesotho, Soweto, so I could speak to them properly, tell them Soweto what I want.
Which is actually a win.
Yeah. So, and then I was very lucky in that the builders are quite professional, hands-on, and then they do things end to end for me. If I'm saying I don't know. If you ask me, okay, cool, yes, I'll build for you, but where are you gonna buy cement, bricks, and all of that? I didn't know.
You're thinking cash build. Or
I'm thinking cash builders.
And they know the cost. Like, no, you'll find it.
100%,
You need that kind of builder.
So I was quite lucky, and it's something that we should definitely discuss. You know, if anyone wants to venture into this thing, that you need to have your ducks in a row from that perspective as well. From you. We know, we know cash build, we know
builders well.
Right? But those aren't the only hardwares, and they're guys who can actually provide a service at a much lower rate. The guys who actually
Same
supply
quality.
the guys who supply them that you can go approach directly. And then I learned about that as I was actually
and that helped you cut a lot of costs, right?
definitely.
Yeah, plus contractors also, they have discounts by being contracts with a lot of these places. You save even more.
So I was buying using my builder's name in most places that we went to because he's a busy person. Like right now, he's doing the same thing that he did for me. Like he's doing quite a few of them. So he's very, very busy. And then I was using his account. I was using his name, obviously, to get the discounts, the volume discounts that he was getting and things like that. So I didn't think this through until it was happening and I started complaining about cost. So that's some of the obviously the bad things that I did as well.
Yeah, I guess you also didn't have anything to compare to. I mean, this is your first one. You know what I mean? Even if you had a budget of, I don't know, let's say 500. If it gets to 6, it's like shit.
Exactly. How did you end up here?
And
even with your mentor, I just wanted to add this. You're absolutely right. You set yourself a timeline, put yourself under a bit of pressure. But what you find is it's different from having a mentor tell you what his experience is as opposed to walking your own experiences. Because where he is and where he started, he has his own stories of paying school fees, getting your fingers burned. And then by the time you get to property 2, 3, 4, his kids or other people who he might walk the journey with, it's totally different. So for you, same thing. But I just like the fact that I have to highlight that you were quite intentional of saying my vision is to bring the same quality to the township because I've never understood the misconception of, like Miles used the perfect phrase, people like things regardless of what LSM you are. So as a service provider, in this case, property and accommodation, why can't you provide the same quality for people in the township that is normally associated with higher LSMs in the northern parts of all these suburbs? And
it also shows what kind of a person you are. I mean, like I like what he said that, you know what, would I live in this? That's
a great barometer.
Well,
it's like being a restaurant owner.
To some investors, they also say
bottom line.
No. To some investors, it's this is not about you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Purely investment.
It's about profit making.
Yes. Because like. It's just something interesting again, because I think if you say, would I live here, you go extra mile up until it's time to get tenants and you can't charge the money you want.
I was lucky enough to be well aware of that and the fact that I was running out of money when I came to finishes. I had overshot my budget extensively. To give you an example, I sold off all my shares because so the second brief was that to minimize debt, right? Which was also a big lesson that I learned, right? That I shouldn't,
because the property is funded.
Right? I shouldn't have gone a lot. I shouldn't have put in a lot of equity in the
stake into the property.
Because if you have access to debt and you have cash, you could always control
you can
the
buy
debt.
100%.
I can always reduce the debt.
I get it.
That's another thing that I learned because I ran out of money.
You put a deposit, and now you can't access your deposit.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
So that's a lesson that you're telling people that rather keep the cash,
fund 100% if you can, and then use your cash to do improvement.
And then if you have cash, then you can put it back into your debt, reduce your debt levels. Then you know what I'm saying? I went the other way. I started off by paying, and then
as opposed to leveraging.
So that actually taught me quite a lot on what you're saying in terms of finishes and stuff like that. It's like, is the value of let's say a 5 million rand house in Sandton, if I build it in the middle of a rural area, can I get 5 million rand out of it? The answer is no, right? So
even if you've spent 5 million,
then initially you start getting excited when you have your property, when you start seeing what it looks like. I'm like, maybe I can actually build-in cupboards everywhere, get everyone Wi-Fi ports and things like that. Then the costs are accumulating, unfortunately. Yes, the intention is good, but the costs are accumulating. You end up with a break-even of 4,000 rand per room. Can I charge 4,000 rand for a bachelor unit in Proteas Land? Nope. The answer is no, right? So you then start controlling. Okay, cool. What do I remove? So you find that balance. So
okay, on that, fine. You are determining if you can charge 4,000 or 2,000, whatever. There's a thing that you were busy with, the keys, the Wi-Fi's, whatever. How do you cost that? Like, and how does it? I don't want it to make my question technical, but how would it affect your return on investment?
It will definitely impact your return on investments, obviously negatively. But remember, now I'm stuck in this mindset that I want to give these guys a good experience at the same time, which is a bit of a negative as an entrepreneur, because I see the guys. 4 of them are working from home, and the first thing in my mind is I'm actually gonna do the Wi-Fi thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want them to experience this good quality. And it's more on my personality or my person side, not the entrepreneurial side where I'm like, let me take this 2% hit on my return and rather give these guys Wi-Fi. I'm not charging them as of now. I'm not charging them extra. I won't be charging them extra for the Wi-Fi and stuff like that. So there's that element of me being me and knowing what I want versus the returns. I am.
So are you saying it's part of a?
And also, Maz, I think maybe to answer you, it's or to explain a bit better, it's if the cost were 400. Without the extras, when Nico adds those extras, then the cost becomes 480. So it's 80,000 rand more. Like putting whatever that he's explaining. So that's what it means. You have to now put extra 80,000, which you could not. If you choose not to do Wi-Fi, if you choose not to do mirrors, if you choose not to
cupboards and finishings.
and you have to outlay the money up front. And then once you then take that, then you try to calculate what it should make backwards. That's how you end at the 4,000.
Okay.
And then that's what's gonna be the catch-22, because you know for sure that a room in this area, you're not gonna get occupancy at that level.
And I just want to highlight the importance of budgeting, right? I'm embarrassed.
Don't go
to
too far.
I'm embarrassed to say that.
Your wife is gonna watch this, right?
Yeah.
But it is good information to get to the people out there.
Look. I'm an accountant by profession. I studied accounting, right? Therefore, I should be very good at
budgeting.
Right? So I have a spreadsheet open, if you can imagine this, with nothing on it. I called the builder. I was like, after we have the concept, the plan, and everything, we're like, how much do you think? How many bags of cement do you think I'm gonna use?
And how much is that cement? Yeah.
Remember, I'm talking to a builder here, right?
The one that's got experience.
Yeah.
And builds the house you want.
Yeah. This guy looks at my plan and he's like, I think you're gonna need 300 to 400 bags of cement.
Yeah.
I'm like,
no,
look, I'm used to passing a bag of cement in builders, right? I'm like, this guy is saying I did 400 of these things. This guy is smoking something. I'm like, no, man, I don't need this. So I put in like 200 bags, so half. I put in 200 bags of cement. Like, okay, cool. How many bricks? How many of those bricks do you think I'll need and stuff? And he gives me his estimates. He said we'll need 2.5 trucks, right? In my mind, I'm thinking a small truck. I've passed them on the highway. And then we order the first truck. The first truck, a truck of brick. When you order these things, it's like a trailer pulling a trailer. I didn't know that when I paid at home. I didn't know I was ordering that, right? But it's like 24 pallets of bricks. Each pallet has about 550 bricks, right? After the first, so I get the explanation from the guys, like, surely.
This is
one load is enough.
Surely. I mean, I'm talking about 24 times 500. Come on, bro.
Until you find out how many of those bricks.
Yeah. So, and then we were on the foundation phase.
Foundation only.
When I got there the following weekend, they started during the week, midweek or whatever. Yeah. Then I went the weekend to check. When I got there, the bricks were almost finished.
Just from the foundation alone.
Started wondering, are these guys selling my bricks? You know what I'm saying? There's that element.
Start creating some conspiracy.
Yeah. There's that element. Then the reality starts hitting you that, you know what, you might have to go back to your budget. Because, you might have to go back to your budget and go relook some of these things because I remember because we were building a double-story building, there's a lot of steel reinforcements that go into your foundation. The foundation is wider.
To reinforce the structure, yes.
There's a lot of that happens before you see a building, right? There's a lot of that happens. The engineers come. So before I could see bricks on ground level, I was easily close to 100K down.
Yeah.
Hey man, my cash. I put the money aside for that specifically. It was not looking good, and I had not yet seen anything. Then I think I started taking the budget thing very seriously. Then I started having chats with the builder, Hey, what did you say again? Like, adjusting the numbers, going to the hardware, getting the costs and all of that.
And at the same time, you probably like operating on his discount. So if,
Yeah,
if you didn't
yeah.
have his discount,
No,
like,
I was gonna be in a lot of. I would have. I'll maybe say this in the end, but I ended up having to take some credit card debt. I don't like taking debt at all. Like, in my intention, if I knew what I know now, I probably would have started in Jan, saved for the year, and then started in Jan.
Yeah.
Right? But anyway,
Just to also to add on there, like in those costs, are you adding the remuneration? Because I remember you said you had a deal with a guy where he wanted money every 2 weeks or something.
yes.
So are you adding that cost?
his labor, his actual
His-
labor.
His actual labor, yeah,
his-
yeah,
cost,
yeah.
So initially when I met him, he charged me. I don't know if I can say.
That's fine.
Yeah. He charged me 145,000 rand
For the project.
We in the back of our heads, me and my friend, we thought it was gonna be under 100K because that's like standard. Like the other guys that we asked, this guy charged the premium, but because of the quality that I saw, I was like, yeah. I remember my friend was not happy about that, and I was like, it's fine, I'll pay him. Then obviously the discussions are, how do you draw down on your 145K between me and him? He said, I've had so many people who pay me the money up front. I do the job. You can trust me. I was like, no, bro. I'm not gonna do that.
I'm not doing that.
I'm gonna pay you. I wanted to pay him in phases.
Stagger the payments.
Then we broke it down into thirds, right? I said foundation, slab, and roof.
Yeah. Stage wise for the project
stage-wise,
makes
right?
sense.
So out of the 140K, I wanna be at least a third of that after you're done with the foundation. I wanna be a third of that when you're done with the slab, and then I'll give you the final third. Then he's like, nope. He's got staff that he pays
Monthly.
no, bi-weekly, every second Friday. And if the guys are gonna be here, he's relying on my money to pay them.
Yeah.
And then I'm still not happy about it. But then we ended up agreeing that it's fine, whatever you do, as long as you don't pass the third. So by the time we get to foundation phase,
should be third.
should be
Progress,
a third, right?
yeah.
Progress wise, and I'll only give you up to a third. Can draw down on whatever you want, but it will not
Tie
pass
it with
this amount.
progress.
Yeah. So then we got to that agreement, and that's why I'm saying, cost wise, I had given him maybe 40K or something like that at the time, and then the rest was the steel prices had just changed from what he said I must put in the budget. There was a whole lot of mess. Like, prices had just got up, and then I had to pay.
This might be a stupid question. Is the money in an interest-bearing account, or is it just in a? And will it help if it's in an interest-bearing account?
So at the rate, the rate at which we did the project, it wasn't gonna make any meaningful difference in what I'm earning.
Oh,
on
yeah,
it, right?
yeah,
So
Your rate is per annum. He's doing this real life.
Yeah.
5 months.
Oh,
6
okay.
months.
Oh, okay.
Initially, the guy told me he can deliver the project. We started in March, early March, beginning of March. He said by June I can have the project done. So 3 months he can.
No, so it doesn't make sense to put the money in.
Yeah. He's so he didn't really. Then the cash was moving so much that
To have it sitting in an interest-bearing account.
Yes, and then I just had it in a normal.
And these
account.
people take cash, right? So you have to withdraw money and.
No. With him, I refused. He wanted the cash because he pays. He
His
had
laborers,
like 20
yeah.
employees.
Yeah.
When the site was a mess there. I never seen a township property with so many people like pushing. There's a guy literally opening a bag of cement, pouring it in something. A guy fetching the sand from the street. A guy taking the mixed cement to the.
So it was like a chain.
It's a chain of things happening.
Yeah.
That's why from foundation to the walls, it took them 3 days for the whole house. That is incredible because the guy told me they're done. I was like, I can't come during the week. I'll come on Saturday. On Saturday, they were waiting for me to buy material for something else because the walls were all up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why I had to pay. That's why I had to be like really
On the
understand
ball.
what it means.
Yeah.
He was drawing down like 25K, 15K.
Labor
like
cost.
he was drawing down quite aggressively. Every time that he was drawing down, and he wanted me to give him cash so he can give the guys, and I was like, to withdraw 20K at a bank, it's costly.
expensive.
And it's trouble.
Yeah, then
It's
he
trouble.
agreed.
Yeah.
He agreed that I can transfer money into his account and all of that, and then he can
handle.
He used to go to an ATM, reach his limit, be scared that people might be looking on a Wednesday, go Thursday somewhere else and whatever, so he can pay guys on Fridays. But
Bruh, it's a pity. Y'all need to sponsor us. E-wallet, they did this solution called e-wallet Pro or something, where they give for scenario like that, we have 20 employees that don't have bank accounts.
Oh,
you pay them into an e-wallet card,
into the cell number.
They don't even. Some of them don't even have cell phones. It's the most, because it's your builders. Mostly by big guys from Soweto, my big guys from. you just hear when they talk. Hello. So e-wallet has this thing, a product. It's called e-wallet Pro. You can usually just pay 20 people. Let's say you're paying them 3,000 each. You pay 3,000 into each card. You give them the cards. And there, boom, one transaction done.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, they should pay us for this promo.
Yeah, they should pay for this. You all should pay for this.
They know themselves.
Yeah. But anyways,
okay.
And Nico, I've got one quick question as you're telling your story. Look, I think once you've got your teeth sunk in, you mentioned the point that, look, once you're in, you're committed. There's no turning back. Was there any point where you felt maybe resource-wise, in terms of finances and experience, that you might have bitten off more than you chewed? Like,
certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. I don't know how many times I tried to quit. I've tried to sell the place before it was finished. I've had these discussions with Teaser at some point. Like, how much do you think I can make out of this at the moment?
That's a good point.
No,
why
honestly,
I bought it. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I bought that up because why I think it's a good thing is what you find sometimes as you drive around. You probably saw this. There's a lot of unfinished structures. And where people probably, for whatever reasons, maybe it's budgeting, maybe it's timing, and life does happen. And then what I probably want to bring up from you is, as you're having those thoughts and second guessing, how much can I get from this, is for the people who are going to walk the same journey, any advice and tips that you can probably give to someone. Let's say, for example, someone, for whatever, some unforeseen circumstances, they've got a structure, they've got no more funding. How do they still make it a viable project? To feed the cell, finish, go for it, what would you recommend? And challenges you at that stage about throwing in the towel?
I think it's, honestly, on the budgeting topic, it's very, very important. If there's anything that we take away out of this conversation, I'd say it's the budgeting component, because
and be honest with yourself while
everything.
doing while
Yeah,
doing the budget.
yes. And I've seen so many brilliant plans, right? That allow you to start with the 2 rooms at the back, at the third one, do the 4th one,
stagger it out.
Move the roof, put on the slab, and stuff like that, right? So there are ways that you can skin this cat, right? So I'd say that if your finances, if you don't have that kind of money and stuff like that, you should not start, because I think that was the hamstring that I also kind of suffered from, because I thought, I don't have enough money. What happens if I run out of money and things like that, right? I tried my best to be disciplined and save money before I start the project. However,
next thing it's Maz's birthday.
Next thing is Maz's birthday. I mean, the vow. I can't say how much I spent. My wife is gonna be watching in the middle of all of this. But yeah, I think and I did feel an impact on my personal finances, right? Because at some point, you can't say you don't have money, but you need tiles. If you have
20 people in your property.
You have 20 people who need to earn something.
Yes.
Right?
So every bi-weekly.
Yeah. And these guys are drawing down. I mean, if you have 20 people, to put it into perspective, if you have 20 people working, it means that your funds are getting drawn at an extraordinary rate, because things are getting done
Faster.
quickly.
Yeah.
Very, very quickly. I was very, very happy with that. It's what I wanted.
Progress
because
is
I
good.
yeah, I wanted to come to Soweto next week, see that the walls are up. Okay, it's exciting. Okay, we're doing electricity. We're doing
The white
plumbing.
Windows are in.
The windows are in.
Driveway
And,
paving.
yeah, and if I can just break it down, right, in terms of the most expensive things for me, that where I felt most pain, the foundation, obviously critical, very, very expensive.
Because
with
it's a
the steel.
double story.
It's a double story. Naturally, the slab, a huge portion of the actual budget went to the slab component.
And actually, out of interest, I mean, I remember you mentioned you have to put an order. You pay per day or per load.
So that thing must finish in one day.
Yeah, it's insane. So you go to the place where they prepare the special slab.
It's reinforced.
It's called a ribbon something. What I use the slab, right? Recommended by the architect, and then you order that. It's specifically reinforced. After that, those reinforcements, you go back to the money I spent on the foundation in terms of the steel. Flip. You buy the same stuff and to go in the steel
slab,
reinforcement.
Because it needs to be reinforcement at the top as well.
They go back on that. After complaining, I had to go through the same process. But anyway, you order. You obviously they take your plan and the measurements and stuff like that, and they calculate how many bricks and how many reinforcements you need and how much steel you need and all of that. That arrives. After that arrives, you need plumbing and your electrician to be on site because you need. They need to run the cables, white conduits and stuff like that. They need to run all of that. You need to be happy with that.
And then that's when they can come and pour the thing. Yeah.
Then I was told that I need to order the cement. Cement needs to be mixed by a machine for the ratios need to be accurate and stuff like that. I don't really understand those engineering terms, right? But once you have that, it needs to be transported from wherever it was mixed to your
site.
Yes. Right? I was like, okay, cool. Then I was told that a truck is, I think it was like 6,000 rand.
Concrete mixer.
Yeah, the concrete mixer to bring it to Soweto. Then the builder told me I need 6 or 7 of those. Then I was complaining. Yeah, after I complained, he's like, okay, cool. Just remember, you need a nozzle something. So these things are not going to the trucks are not going to throw the cement in the road.
Yep, you need a nozzle to lay it out.
Thing that shoots
cement
into your yard and onto the thing.
Yeah.
That guy's like, okay, cool. He's got 30 minutes for 4.5K for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, surely these prices are made up. Remember, I've never been in construction. I don't know anything about construction, right? Surely these prices are made up. Eventually, after complaining, I'm paying this. I've just paid for those special bricks, the slab itself. I complained. I didn't know that the cement is going to be this expensive. So there's this
Getting
part.
closer to 400
Yeah.
bags.
Bro. I remember the guy says it's going to be there at 11. I need to make sure the plumber, the electrician is there to hold the pipes while the spray is going. Because once the cement is hard, you can't do anything.
It's all,
Yeah, so I arrange with these guys. These are guys, from the township. I tell them, be there 10. If you're not there, I'm not paying you, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Everyone, I arrived there, I remember I had work. Sorry, work. But, but I rushed there quickly to make sure everyone is there. That was my main priority. Because the nozzle guy is running the show. Yeah. He's there for 30 minutes and then he's out. Yeah. I see he's already there at the time.
And the plumbers and electricians are not there.
There's a full street of trucks waiting with the electricity, with the cement. Go and find the electrician and plumber there. Get everyone ready. The builder knows what's going to happen. Remember, I don't know what the final product is going to look like. So I'm taking all this guidance from the builder. Maybe Tepo will share some of the pictures and stuff like that. Anyway, this guy, in 30 minutes, 6 trucks unloaded. There's a little bit left. The guy asked me if I want a little bit of cement. I said yes.
You paid for it.
Then he's like, where must this play? I give him a quarter or something. It was hard. It becomes, you know, like
Brick hard, instant,
it becomes super hard.
So what did they
very
do
quickly.
then?
I don't know, bro. I just asked the builder. We want this. I was like, yeah.
We're gonna find a use for it.
I paid so much.
I wanted. I paid for
Yeah.
it.
Anyway, yeah, that was the second pain that I felt on the slab in terms of the cost. Right, it's very very expensive. And then I'd say the other two, the roof.
Yeah,
crazy,
I was about to ask that. Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
It's a flat
'Cause I
top.
have a-
It's a flat top.
No. I have
Tiled.
tiled, decorated, and stuff like that. Because again, I wanted to
Aesthetics,
Yeah.
aesthetics.
Yeah.
I said the guy must go all out on the roof, right? And
How
then
we can tell my saying, Keju?
On a
I
double
was
story
toying-
house.
No, I was honestly toying with the idea.
To save costs, yeah. Honestly, why didn't you consider it? Like, to save costs, because you could have saved a lot.
The way it would have looked would not have been complementing the rest of the structure.
And my initial,
He's got a drone. That's when I see my saying.
oh yeah, you'll see the drone shots as well. No, man, I wanted it to really be a place where I would want to stay.
Yeah.
At the same time, I knew like I was running very low on cost by the time we got to the
funding.
on funding. By the time we reached the roof phase, and then the one thing that finished me off, completely killed me, was doors and windows.
Finishings.
I got aluminium windows and doors. I think after we put that in, you can imagine in your head now.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have a house plastered and all with a roof, with windows. But that's it. We haven't touched finish it. And I'm saying this is what finished me off.
Yeah.
Now you need to do tiles.
Yeah, I think
Painting.
Yeah, I think the sliding doors, the windows and doors.
Yeah, you even gave him sliding doors. Yo.
Hey man, I was
Cheese
very
boy
generous.
lifestyle.
Yeah, I think we on 50K easy
Easy.
50K just for the windows. You know, a place is finished and then you go spend 50K and the windows are there. You're like, it's not that big of an addition, but
Yeah.
you just spend this much, right? But anyway, yeah. So that, and then I was really low on funds at this stage. And then I went on my easy equities and I was like, hey man, it's been real.
So.
Shame, I had it's a bit embarrassing, but I had invested so much in crypto. We had chatted about it earlier in the year with Teaser. And I went in heavily on crypto.
Before it
and
recovered.
yeah,
So
and
you have to
it
sell.
went down like 50%. And I was like, no, let me not sell the crypto. It might still recover. Let me start with
the equities.
Equities, regular shit.
Equities down. Got the cash, paid the heavy fees. I was angry.
Yeah, tax.
Everything I tell people not to do, I did, right?
Yeah.
Because I need to pay. Then
Now your Facebook status is real.
yeah. No, for sure. Then obviously we on the finishes stages now, right? We in finishes and the money didn't carry me. Tiles,
Yes. Yeah.
floor tiles. We do this thing. The guy quotes me. The
Tyler.
The Tyler quotes me. It was 30 something K or something like that.
I was hoping you would say something
Labor. This is not even material. Labor.
He matches labor. He matches material. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever the labor, whatever the costs are, he's gonna charge the
match
same.
Wait. What if the material was 10K? He was going to charge you 10K.
Yeah.
How does he justify
that's
that?
That's my negotiation
Industry
point.
norm.
It's like
Oh,
plus
okay.
minus.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll charge you 10. Yeah. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, cool. So 60K. Okay, let me pay this thing. Right. I pay the 60 grand. After paying the 60 grand, during the week still, I arrive on the weekend. It's like, hey, can you see your ground floor? Your ground floor looks very nice, man. I'm like, okay, cool, but where are the tiles for the upstairs? It's like, no. I thought we were doing it in phases. This is for ground floor. I was like, there's no way I'm paying another 30K to do this
Upstairs.
Yeah.
Now it's anger and
It's frustration.
I'm like, I can't bypass material. I
Yeah.
have to go. Our design.
And it has to be unique. It has to be similar, right? Yeah.
Our design downstairs is the same as upstairs, right?
All the units have to look the same so that
Yeah.
you charge the same
Yeah,
across
yeah,
the
yeah.
board. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just an accountant at the end of the day. I'm not creative. So I was like, I saw ground stairs. I was like, I want this up here.
Yeah.
That's
Consistency.
I'm not creative. So anyway, I negotiate a better price, and then we do upstairs tiling, crazy amount again.
Oh, these amounts, man, are just
And then
piling up.
And then listen to this, right? So there's a gap between where we build the house and the flats at the back, the existing house and the flat. The guys like, this place won't look nice if you don't have. It won't look nice if you don't have if you don't tile the gap in between. This is outdoor tiling.
Yeah.
And everyone has a balcony. Hey man, now these things are starting to catch up with me. It's like, no, you need to tile this. I have to buy outdoor tiles for a big part of the house, a big part of the outside
the
place,
yard.
right? Yeah, but at this point, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to afford painting this place and the finishes, the bathrooms and things like that inside, right? So
we haven't even touched the wardrobes and stuff.
No. I actually didn't end up putting in any of the wall units. I'll tell you what I did. I ended up, maybe if you can just jump into the inside, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the finishes, I looked around and saw what other people are doing. What's the bare minimum in terms of finishes? What I can add as a value add? What I can have as a value add to attract people and to make people stay here and all of that. And then we ended up deciding to make the bathroom quite nice with showers, nicely tiled showers, and obviously what you get in a bathroom, the basin and the toilets and stuff like that. There's a photo of me with I was running out of money here, guys, but there's a photo of me in a polo with 7 toilets. 7 toilets. I put the seats down. I was trying to make it work. I was honestly trying to make it
I'm not
work.
gonna hire a transporter or bus. Like, I have to save.
The guy charged me. The guy charged me 250. I was like, no,
I'll save
I'll
it.
fit them in the polo. I was doing trips from the hardware store to the place, so it was quite rough. It was quite rough.
Do you know what's good about what you're sharing though? Is you're sharing right how as these projects like happen at any scale, it gets down really to the nuts and bolts. Because even if a bucket guy says I'm gonna charge you 250, you're thinking 250 fuel, I can do the trips, and then if I've got a constructor who's got day laborers, at some point that 250 is gonna be needed for nails, fittings, wiring, or something. And as the budget, because it's one. What I'm trying to highlight is it's a common theme you hear with people who build, is that whatever your budget is, when you start, just know.
Add 50%.
Exactly.
I'm there. It's embarrassing to know that I missed my budget by more than 50%.
Yeah.
No, but for you, I think don't be too hard on yourself, because I'm sure as an accountant, you're the stickler for coming in within budget. But if you speak to anyone in construction, they'll tell you, even the best kind of construction. Trust me, because and the thing is, what happens with I've seen with people who've built their own house, even like developers, 9 times out of 10, no matter how seasoned you are, like all it takes is for steel to go up, cement at any given time.
And I suppose maybe on some of the like insights, I was telling him like some of the with our clients, the bigger guys, they have a QS that's there to calculate the cost upfront.
Yeah.
They estimate, and then they actually procure that. They agree these prices with the suppliers at that rate. You know what I mean? And
lock in.
They don't even. There's something called JBCC, which is it's a fixed contract that people sign. You can actually sign a contract with the developer to say, you're gonna charge me this. You're gonna build within this price range.
How big do you have to be though for such things?
No, I mean, you can implement it even now. It's just that it's one of those things that. Sometimes it might seem like you're overcomplicating a simple process, but when you look at the fact that you can go 50% above cost, it shows that maybe that should be a standard anyway.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even
sometimes
what people do to even circumvent that, like with the cement or bricks, like you secure, depending on your funding, you secure the stand, you buy the place, you've walled it, and then the trucks come in, you put the bricks, you cover them. And then you're like, as and when I've now got the next lump sum, like you start it, because you know that if you don't lock in, if you're not big enough to saying to me that go to a supplier and get all the raw materials and have them at least aside.
But the other thing I wanted to ask you, why didn't you fund it? Why didn't you just go to the bank and get a building loan?
That's a brilliant question. simply because I thought it's a township, a bank wouldn't fund me for this thing. The other thing is a big mistake that I made. I funded the property in my name and not in a business name. I registered a company recently after. And the ideal situation would have been for me to have a company and then provide surety to the company and then get the loan that way, right? And I could easily have been approved for a loan to build the place, right? I don't know, at the back of my mind, I always had this, I want to build this thing cash, I want to build this thing cash, I want to build this thing cash. And
because you also hate credit.
Yeah, because I really, really don't want to be in debt, right? Because I feel like obviously debt holds you back to do other things where you will need credit, right? If I had an opportunity where I had saved up a bit, I had a bit of cash that I could use for this property, and I thought, let me use this cash because I don't foresee myself needing it in the near future. So that's why. But it's one of the big lessons that I've, as I highlighted earlier on, that credit is there to be used. We need to use credit for good things. I mean, this is a project that is at the moment generating money now that it could be paying itself back, right? So that's one of the other mistakes that I made, was to not explore the credit route. Because I told myself from day one that I was gonna fund this thing, and it drained me. It drained me. I don't know if I still qualify to be part of private bank.
So you mentioned something like, you said you made a mistake by buying it in your name compared to a business. What are the implications actually of buying property in your name? Because technically that's your second property, right? Your house and that. Yeah. And then what are the implications?
Remember, I'm generating cash on this second property, investment property in my name. Therefore, technically, the rental is supposed to come into my taxable income.
Oh, okay.
I'm paying tax at a
high rate than you should.
At a very high rate.
Last bracket.
No.
Last bracket.
Please, guys.
Last bracket.
He's my client.
Doing big things.
Anyway, so the tax impact is definitely that obviously you pay at that rate, right? However, I have
because I asked that question strategically for somebody who's watching. Why should they consider doing it?
So if it was in a company in your company's name, you'd obviously pay 28% or 27% tax on it. Therefore, you get that benefit.
And there's also other the expenses you can't deduct.
You can,
company.
You can deduct, And to think about it, you asked me a question on the trips I'm making to Soweto, the weekly full tank.
Could have claimed it back.
Fuel prices actually shot up
in
the middle of the project, and I had to go there 2-3 times a week. You know what I'm saying? So can I really deduct those costs?
No.
You know,
personal capacity.
So there's a lot of that I missed out on. Then you know what I'm saying. So
he wasn't listening to property code.
Yeah, when we advise it,
you're gonna listen late.
I caught up on the episodes fairly recently, and that's why I'm so mad at myself.
So part 2 of my question. Now you're in that scenario. You've got Nico. You've got the business now. How do you do the transaction now to say, you know, I'm taking it off my.
So through advice, I've had to structure it in a way that I'm leasing the property to my company, and then the company is doing whatever it's doing, which is rental. And then the money that the company generates, but it pays me a monthly rental for me leasing the property into its name. For now, that's a short-term measure, because in the long run, I definitely have to move over and
sell it.
You have to
I'm
sell
going
it
to sell my property to
the business.
To the business, That will also help me unlock the value, because currently my property is valued at the amount that I bought it for, but I know it's at least, based on my pain also, 3 times. 3 times
Personally.
the value. Personally, it's at least 3 times the value. So I will sell it, and I'll obviously to the company.
And maybe down the good things, I guess. Now it's finished again. You've tripled value. This is probably one of the biggest benefits of the pain, right? You've tripled value. You've got an asset that's that you can gear if you want credit.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can actually borrow against.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now you've got what? Is it fully tenanted?
Yeah. So
Finally, he was right about that.
I was. I'll be dead honest.
How was that getting tenants?
You start getting a lot of it's called imposter syndrome. Where you start doubting yourself. The property is finished, painted, everything. You start wondering, are people really gonna come stay here and all of that, right? I had this conversation with Teaser quite a few times where I thought the market is flooded. All of a sudden, I started seeing adverts, property to rent in Protea land, cheap, and all. And I was like, surely there's no way people are gonna stay at my property. And I started doubting myself in the property and whatever. And I started asking Teaser exactly how much do you think I'll get out of this thing? I want out. We can use the money for other stuff, you know. And then, we explored two options: the agent's option, and obviously me trying to get tenants. I'm not from Protea land, so I don't know a lot of people in Protea land.
You from Magalle?
Chief, don't bash Vicksburg. I'm from Vicksburg.
That's below the belt.
Okay, let me.
I know he's gonna have a good time with me after this.
Let me correct. It's called Maralani.
Magala.
But it's Vicksburg. Anyway, back to the property thing, right? So I met a guy who told me he has a proper record in terms of getting tenants. In the townships, you find a lot of guys who are agents, if I can call it that, but they're basically the middleman between who's looking for property and the property owner. Right? That's what I sort of found out later on. But then the guy, a very, very good guy, he started marketing. The first one started marketing my place. Nothing happened. Someone inboxed me and said, hi, I reshared what the agent posted on Facebook, and he said, "Hi, I actually see that you reshared this thing. Are you the owner? This guy is not responding. I want to move in, etc." Then I actually got that guy as my one of my first tenants. And then I realized actually I should take matters into my own hands because I need people to move in. And this was end of August because my first tenants started moving in on the last day of August. I decided to put up a post last week of the month on Facebook, on various pages, on Soweto rentals and Protea land rentals and stuff like that. And then within a week, I was 80% full. Some had already moved in. Like people will call me, move in the same day, right? And then showing that out of my total units, only one was through an agent. Everything else I got myself.
So no commission paid.
No
to
commission
anyone.
paid. I only paid that guy for that one place. Yeah, that's it. And then it showed me that sometimes, you know, we obviously live in places where agents play a big role. Like you hand everything over to your agent to do your work for you and whatever. I learned that to a certain degree, you need to be proactive yourself. You can get a lot done without your agent. In terms of getting people, because I had doubts because I'm not from Protea. I don't know people and all of that. But the power of social media is incredible. You post something here, and then the next day you get a lot of phone calls. I was bombarded by phone calls by the
in your panic to get people, the response was overwhelming. But real quick on that point, I think it's a good thing to mention that the dynamics of the township in terms of the community, while social media is very different. Like I think Tsepo was something in many aspects he could speak to that. Is the fact that you probably find, you're right, our bubble, the agents plays a big role. But why I'm highlighting this is the dynamic within township. It works if you know, even if you don't know the area specifically, but once you figure out how it works and don't second guess yourself, you manage to figure a way to get tenants. And you actually more than you went from worrying and consulting with Teaser to oversupply, to being bombarded. So a lot of good lessons in learning curve, but I did want to mention that to say that there is appetite in business within those spaces if you know how to maneuver, if you know how to move. Same would apply with CBD, Joburg, or any other area where if you know, and if you don't know, it's like we always say the proverb, if you go somewhere, you want to get a full picture, speak to or get someone from there. Like the way
lesson. Big lesson for me.
Exactly.
I started, I was telling the guys that since March up to fairly recently, September, I spent every single Saturday except one where I went home, going to Soweto at least for a few hours. And every time I'm there, I'm fighting fires. If we have a braai or whatever, I know that 7 I need to be up, going to Soweto, do something at least until 12 minimum. I'm not available between 7 and 12 on a Saturday because I'm fighting the fires for the week, planning for the following week, leaving my builder with a brief. And my builder played a massive role also on that because I was fortunate enough that he could do my errands. I didn't have to do a lot of the stuff because he was there. That's why in terms of the premium that I paid, sometimes I complain, sometimes I feel like it was worth it because this guy has a car. He can go and negotiate with people. He can go and fight people. He can go get me this guy. He can go fetch that guy. You know what I'm saying?
And again, on big projects, there's project managers that exactly do that, and their fees not cheap.
Yeah,
exactly.
we basically split that.
Project
the responsibility.
role.
I think we split the role between the two of us, and then I think just maybe where I am at the moment. Obviously, it's just having spoken about August getting tenants, the place is finally 100% fully let.
Oh, nice.
The last tenant actually moved in yesterday, which for the month of October. So the place is full, and I'm currently experiencing totally different challenges, right?
Went from construction to now.
From construction, we are now talking about managing people, managing the property, which I've been in such a bubble of building that I totally forgot that at some point I'm gonna be dealing with tenants. I've had to deal with crazy requests. Like one of my tenants called me this week saying he doesn't want to move out, but work. I don't know if work is compensating or subsidizing either transport or the place where he like my place, the rental. But he told those people that I'm the cousin. And it's like, what mamngani? I don't know. I get to be Zulu. Hey, I need to find out what mamngani is because I need to say it's my cousin. I'm like, so you get. I was stressing about bags of cement to now this, right?
The transition, you didn't mentally prepare for it.
We're dealing a lot with the snags. I'm learning a lot more about property maintenance. We're starting obviously having to maintain the place, dealing with the smaller things that I have to be honest to myself. I'm not too good at this stage, like because I've never really had exposure.
Because that was my next question. Like, what are the running costs now that everything is complete and everything is said and done? What are the running costs?
And a lot of it's unforeseen.
So how I structured the place, I split I'm paying for the geysers, for example. I have separate meters per geyser, and I'm funding that obviously out of the rental income. It's proving to be quite costly. Then I've recently put in timers, so we're testing out what the timers are doing. There's load shedding. We don't know if timers reset or not. If they, after load shedding, if they do, what are we gonna do next? We're currently exploring Wi-Fi. Timers that have Wi-Fi capability, so I can reset them remotely. There's things like that. There's having a property manager.
Why do you need Wi-Fi timers, if I may ask?
You can control remotely.
Yeah, so if you go set your timer to 3 a.m. to 7 a.m., for example, if there's load shedding, the memory loses memory. Then the time goes. It starts on 000. Then that time maybe it was the time that it was meant to start heating up the geyser. You know what I'm saying? Then tenants complained that the water was cold. So with the Wi-Fi ones, at least you'll know that every day when I wake up, I'll double check if the timers are still set. So that's costly.
Because if you have your geyser 24 hours, it's too expensive. You gotta put it in the morning for everybody.
Well, it's critical in the morning when people in the shower, people come back in the evening.
We started off that way, and it's
criminal. The
it's
charges.
Crazy the amount of money that we are paying.
Can't you push the cost to the tenant?
You price yourself out of that. You risk pricing yourself. You could, but you risk. The more your rental goes up.
So my strategy was to try and get in 100 rand lower than everyone in the market initially, some is market related, but some of the rooms are slightly lower than market related as an entry point, because at this point in time, I just wanted tenants I wanted to fill the place with tenants. So I thought taking the 100 rand sacrifice in the short term might be okay, but as soon as there's movement of people, then I can start obviously sticking to my prices and things like that, right? So there's that. And then in terms of other running costs, obviously I'm paying the normal levies, insurance, water bill is slightly up, and there's things like that you're now paying. But there's prepaid meters in each unit, which helps a lot, because everyone is paying for their own electricity. I'm just carrying geysers and the main supply into the house. So that's how I structured the electricity of the place. So there are quite heavy running costs.
So in your spreadsheet, have you determined what are the escalations going to be annually, or
not really? I'll still get to that point, but it's a different market to the market that we were renting in, for example, with I give you inflationary. Yeah. The 100 rand.
He's already went 100 below.
Yeah, 100 rand means so much to most of my tenants. It means so much that someone turns away the moment you say you're increasing by 100 rand. So obviously that's the risk of the market, that I took a risk, and those are the cards that I'm playing, right? Yeah. So I haven't thought that far. However, as costs are rising, I'll probably have to start having chats with the guys and start telling them, guys, okay, cool, look.
Because I'm thinking that the reason why I'm asking that is that it's funded, right, through the bank. Interest rates are going up, so now you are feeling the pinch.
Yeah, I think maybe just to clarify what you mean by funded, because now people might get
confused.
So when I bought the initial house, it was funded. The upgrades, the building, whatever,
those ones are cash.
Those are not funded.
Those are not.
Just for everyone's clarity.
Yeah,
that's why Teaser was asking me why I didn't go the funding. But you're right. I am feeling the pinch from. Remember, I bought this last year, transferred early this year. The installments have changed also because of the rate increases, right? So I am feeling that, but it's one of those things that initially I think I am taking the pinch on the costs. However, it's one of those things that I need to go back to the drawing board and see how I'm going to address them, because as much as the house is standing, I'm still not perfect in terms of how exactly I want to run this place in my head. For example, it's the 1st of the month, 1st of October. If you ask me if I have my full rent, I just said my place was fully tenanted. No. So the second question is, how am I going to deal with that, right? So that's what I'm saying. We have to accept our strengths and weak points, and I feel like I'm operating in new territory at the moment, where it's not me to go and bash on doors, ask for my money. Personally, it's not me, but obviously we're in business, so I need to navigate it and find ways how I'm going to.
Will you not consider a managing agent, or it's going to be too costly?
Yeah. So I definitely will. We are working on something with Tsepo behind the cameras here. We're exploring different options. At the moment, he's running with all of that. The tenants are speaking directly to him. He's up to speed.
They're negotiating with him. I can't pay today.
Sorry, that's indirectly me saying companies are getting paid.
It is a critical point, because what I've seen from also discussing with it and what I know of that market is there are people who intentionally, when they build rooms, they actually set aside one room where they're going to have an on-site manager, because for you, post-construction stage, you can't be the person now every time there's a minor issue. It's a minor issue, but it needs to be attended to. But is it worth it for you to rush from where you stay all the way to Soweto to sort out maybe faulty plumbing? It's a small issue, but the tenant needs that fixed. And the more rooms you have, you need someone who's also, I always think it's critical to have someone who knows the area. Exactly. So, but what I do like about you sharing your journey, you're painting, you actually painted a very vivid picture of stage, challenges, what you learned. And one that's really critical that you said I want to bring to the fore is learning to play to your strengths. What you're good at and what you're not good at. There's that balance of wanting to save money, but if you try to do everything by yourself, there's one way you save money by getting tenants by yourself, because you saw that you got more occupancy and feedback as opposed to an agent. So that's kudos to you. But there's also the other benefit of where you got not only a contractor, but the fact that he's from Lesotho, the language thing, understanding him, bring your vision to life, that was also beneficial, which then brings it back to the part where you said, as much as you might be complaining about how much you bled, he was a valuable asset because you shared project management duties. Whereas if you do that, the guy had a car, that's a big thing. If you have to get someone else separate to do that, once again, the budget goes up. And it's something that you hear a lot whenever people build that whatever you start with, there's always potential stags along the way. And stags is a nice way of saying the budget going out the window.
Yeah. And just to also put it into perspective, remember we have weekday jobs, very, very demanding jobs.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep on mentioning the importance of having someone to run my errands, because weekdays I'm busy with clients, I'm working or stuff like that, right? So you don't really have time to be queuing at a hardware store or calling the guy who's supposed to deliver bricks who didn't deliver. So you don't really have time for such things. So you need, so my builder was quite proactive in going out there, doing that for me and all of that. And for anyone who wants his details, inbox the podcast. They'll put you through to me.
That's why it's also important to have after like the same kind of
conversation,
like and whatever. Because you won't have time. I remember you said you wanted to get your weekends back.
Because I think the wife was starting to complain that on Saturdays I've never been at home for full Saturday since March, right? And it's becoming for someone who chills at home quite a lot. It was quite weird. I'm not. Sometimes I go in the morning and come back like late at night. With things happening. And on that, maybe just one of the last things I'll share is that we got, because of my lack of availability, I got someone to come and stay and look after the place. Funny story. I got someone to come and look after the place, right? A homeboy of mine. Obviously,
maybe she tell the story.
Creating jobs.
Creating employment.
So
South African.
Abuti Nico.
So things don't always work out that way, man. I mean, obviously, I got someone who I thought was on the same wavelength as me, and
trust.
I trust and all of that.
He's from Mahalle as well.
And that because you buy, if bags of cement get dropped off in the morning,
you need somebody
Tuesday, I'm only coming on Saturday, bro.
You need somebody to count and make sure those bags are there.
And the bags that are getting used at the time and all of. So you need one of your own to check
somebody
out.
Somebody can trust,
yes. But then obviously things happen, and then I realized that the guy was not the most ideal person for that position.
Mabona, when they say ufuna no goleng ayas.
So shame. I think he was a bit overwhelmed with the money. Gauteng lights, Mabona Gauteng.
Too bright.
If you have money and that day, things happen, right? So
I remember he went to Maponya, chief.
He called me at on a Saturday night, some random time, 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Hey, can I get I forgot. I'm trying to get a taxi back to basically trying to get it back.
And this is the same guy who specifically wanted his baby.
Bro, it's the same guy. It's the same guy, dog.
But when all is said and done, was it worth it?
Yeah, most certainly. Like I look at the work we did, and I can only be proud of myself in a short period of time because I had this vision in my head. And I kept on pushing the guys, especially when it came to the small details. Once everything was done, because it started looking like what I have in my head. Then I started pushing the guys and all of that. And I think it was definitely worthwhile. And I think it's the first time with my entrepreneurial hat that I do something, and I actually, I care about the money, but I don't really care about the money. Like I'm happy to see the people
execute it.
And seeing the people there liking the place and all of that.
The vision came to life.
It makes me more happier than
the bottom line
when they pay me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
I didn't think that
your solution for a product that's actually needed.
I didn't think that was gonna be my end goal, because obviously you want to start paying off the debts and things like that. But I'm more happy knowing how you liking the place. Is it fine? Let's go fix this thing immediately and all of that. And proving that in townships we can actually bring dignified housing solutions, right? Because where you stay says a lot, like, about you. You feel good if you wake up, take a shower. It's small somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you're in a township, it's big, If you open your sliding door and you're chilling on your balcony, looking at Soweto, it's big, man.
Yeah.
I made it, dog.
Yeah.
I did.
So just to put
Congratulations.
Yeah, but no, it's quite admirable because it speaks to, it's one thing to want to create employment, to develop property, to invest, and all the good things that speak to the bottom line. But what I find key is how you're getting more purpose and joy from when you fulfilled your vision, and that vision was tied around not just the money you're going to make, but it was tied around equipping and providing something to people that normally they would not even aspire for. It speaks to the fact that it can be done, and other people should aspire for that as well. That you're still going to make your profit, don't get it twisted. But it's necessary that someone has the vision, and I think it's to, on this podcast and episode, is just encourage other like-minded people that, look, you've started your journey. It starts with one, it could be many, and those who even have the resources to do it at a larger scale, look to do the same thing. Don't only think bottom line funding. What am I gonna get out of this? Because it's still viable.
Before I ask my final question there, because you spoke about the balcony or whatever. Are the rooms charged the same? Because like now you've got a view, the guys downstairs don't have a view. Yeah.
No, they're not. So we structured it in such a way that the room with the best view,
Square footage.
It actually happens that the square feet of that specific room is the largest. So that's the prime space, the center of
and that's the one people are fighting for.
That's the one people were fighting for.
And then my question is that, like, now, like, you've told us like a beautiful story, a picture. Like, I even visualized, like, you took us through the journey, and I actually see myself. Like, it's sort of like I walked with you. I was like, I know I was with you Saturday night, but like, would you advise people to do it?
Yeah, certainly.
Is it worth it, like cash?
Yeah. I think we do things for different purposes, right? But with what I said was my purpose and intention, I think it's definitely worth it because you have a product that's solving something, and obviously you are making your entrepreneurial needs are also met at the same time, right? So,
and you're bringing dignity back into
essentially.
The community,
So I think definitely this has opened up a lot of dreams in my head. I'm already excited about the next one. Already planning, thinking what I'm gonna put my hands on next, and all of that, right? So this proves that from someone I've never been in a construction site except when I was buying my house, to being the leader in a construction site.
Be a project manager.
It shows that anything is possible. We can all do it with proper planning and all of that. And
application.
And it has definitely made the dreams much bigger because we talking about the number of rooms now. So we the aim is to increase, multiply the number of rooms that we have at the moment. So we'll definitely be going back much stronger, bigger scale.
Just on that, we were talking about homeowners associations rules about where you live. Are there rules? Like, are people allowed to actually buy on the? Or are you starting to think about that as well?
Firstly, this has only been a month since I've had tenants.
Yeah, I know.
Secondly,
because I'm thinking I've got the best view in Soweto. I want to buy.
Typically, how it works in the townships, right, is that tenants tend to set their own rules over time. However, I will still be guilty, admin, I'm bad, but I will still be sharing the basic ground rules, like no noise after 10, weekday 11, weekend, such things, right? But remember, this place has been filling up over the last month, and then we dealing with snags and all of that. So we're still lagging slightly behind on the admin side, but there will definitely be rules because obviously you can't have 20 guests
willy-nilly
over.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Like that. So
I'm thinking you do 1 bedroom. You don't want more than.
it is 1 bedroom.
Yeah, you don't want more than 2 people on a consistent basis. It's gonna cost you. Yeah.
We're
So
into the building.
So we do have such things in place in the contracts and stuff like that. But in terms of actual property rules, we will be having that. And I remember you guys asked me for the name. What's the name of the building? I have the name of the company. I just changed it. It's just Avuni Properties. But the name of the building
is it who?
Huh?
What is it?
No,
the property is the same. Avuni.
Oh, you named it. I thought you named it after your wife or something.
No. And then so the building's name is I was calling it Project Alpha. So I just called it Alpha House.
The beginning.
Nice.
That's nice. I like that.
You guys, I'll come back.
Full circle.
I'll come back on Project Omega.
That's nice.
Omega, Vega.
And
Alpha and Omega.
And we all know in our world, Meza, what alpha means, right?
Yeah.
That was the logic behind it.
That was dope. Finally, an alpha.
Gents, I don't know if you've got any more questions for Nico, but I think but that is a beautiful story. And I think what I like about Nico is you're just so candid and honest in sharing to the core the nuts and bolts of each and every stage. And like Maza said, it's literally you walked us through that journey. I haven't been there. I've seen some of the pictures on your status. I've seen some of the work Tepo does. It brought to life just those. I actually visualized what you went through. And that's why I ended by asking, was the pain worth it? Because clearly it was. But it's a great story in terms of what you thought, the expectations versus the reality, what you went through, and the advice. At each stage you were sharing quite useful points in terms of small things that are critical, that are important. And now, instead of being deterred, you had an explosion of now a vision of what you want to do, exposure to the property space. You're not a construction person, you're an accountant by profession, but that was not a limitation. And now you've got more ideas for doing bigger and better. Despite all the pain you suffered, you're actually excited to go back and go bigger and stronger. Yeah. And that's an absolutely great thing. So Nico, thanks on behalf of the Business Agenda podcast for coming through. We really love the story. I'll let the gents have their final thoughts. But the last thing I want to say for me is just congrats to you, obviously. Owner, landlord, full tenancy. Don't take these things for granted. But I mean, we'll be clearly watching your story, seeing what you're planning to do. Obviously, you're part of the team. And just to get those insights out there, because there's more people like you, and who work 9 to 5s, but who've always wanted to delve into that space. They shouldn't limit themselves, but it's a great achievement. So congrats to you. So gents,
no, Nico, man, congratulations, brother. That is very inspirational. If you need a security guard, chief, I'm here. Since I'm but yeah, man, you took us through a beautiful journey, very inspirational. I mean, I would want to do it now, because I always thought that I'll never have time. Jesus used to say, like, why don't you try? I'm like, I thought I'll never have time, but I realized that, you know what, if where there's a will, there's a way. True. If you really want to do it, you can. I think you've inspired a lot of people like us work 9 to 5s. I think it's possible. But security, I'll give you a good price, chief. I've got a touch.
Thanks. I think teaser, before you go, I also just want to say, obviously, thank you to you guys. Obviously, throughout this journey, I was not alone. Like, I was complaining to someone. You guys had a lot of the complaints, a lot of swearing, and all of that, right? So, and also a lot of good advice that I've gotten from you guys, right? So it's not like I was thinking all these things alone. And there's, I mean, from the planning stage to everything to breaking down the actual house and all of that, there was someone who was saying, maybe do this, maybe don't break this wall, break this one. So there's a lot of people involved. I can mention Busani, Pete. So there's quite a lot of people.
Support structure, yes.
So it's quite important to also know that this is not your field. Listen to people. Get advice, filter that you don't like or that's not aligned to your vision, but keep moving.
Yeah, man. Yeah, congratulations, dog. I think for me the most important thing is to, especially when creating this platform, is to show people that like nothing is actually out of reach. A lot of times I liked how you were speaking about the imposter syndrome, about the, as individuals, we can always hold ourselves back, like we don't deserve that, or we would never do that. You know what I mean? And I know personally, like coming from Free State, even just coming to stay in Joburg,
Shout out
it was
to
such
Free
a
State.
far thing. You know what I mean? But once you actually start doing something, you just gotta start, and that's why it's such a beautiful moment. The alpha to show people that it can be done.
It can be done, yeah.
And I think with the with the plans that we have for the podcast, when we bring like some of the guys that run the bigger buildings, it's always important to actually always show like you gotta start. You know what I mean? And shout out to you for starting, and also maybe like even showing people, like as we're discussing, that there's obviously these different investments that we have, but just showing that sometimes you can actually liquidate equities to put it in property. You're just shifting assets. You know what I mean? Yes, it might seem like when you say to you have shares, it's bad, but that can give you liquidity. There's so many gems that you actually were dropping just to show people that a journey like this, it's not, like you said, it's not by one, but there's always a thought and a plan around it, and it's always beautiful that we can show people that especially as black people, man, we can do this. We can do this and improve our own townships. We don't have to wait for white people to come and put Baldwin.
We can just do it all.
Because all these companies that come in townships building these things, and we can be those people.
100%.
So congrats. We look forward to seeing this grow. We look forward to seeing this actually nationally. It'd be nice to see this in Free State. It'd be nice to have this in Cape Town. This in Cape, congratulations, man. This is really beautiful.
Thanks.
And we look forward to seeing many more.
Thanks.
Oh, great. Gentlemen, thank you as always to my co-hosts Teaser and Miza. Nico, thank you for coming through. The last point I want to say on this particular episode and subject is, like Nico said, when you decide to embark on such a project, ask yourself, what are the reasons? Why am I doing this? What is my motivation? That'll be key. That'll be the driving force of whether you give up or not, or how you maneuver and navigate. So just be true to yourself, and you might see other people doing it. They're doing it for different reasons. Just be true to yourself and what motivates you, and that'll push you to the finishing line. So this has been episode 12 of the Business Agenda podcast. As always, this podcast is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. For those of you who want to see the visual side of it, you can catch us on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Please share the podcast. And gentlemen, thank you as always. Great episode. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Cheers.